Today we are going to be covering the ultimate credit masterclass. You do not want to miss this, guys. I'm going to be giving you everything that you need to know, from how to repair your credit, how to build credit, how to get a 700 credit score, and how to structure your credit report to get funding, how to build relationships with banks to get funding. There's going to be so much information in this credit masterclass. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to watch the entire masterclass. This is the information you need to know, and if you knew better, you would do better. Let's get started. Welcome to the Credit Masterclass. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's video, we are going to be covering everything that you need to know about credit, how to repair your credit, some shortcuts on credit repair, some hacks on credit repair, some major gems on credit repair, and we're going to be covering how to build credit, how to structure your credit report, how you can build a very solid credit profile by using banking relationships. Now, I've talked about this in the past, and I'll say it again. It's not always about credit score. In fact, the credit score really means nothing. It's all about data points. These are the data points that you want to focus on. You might understand data points, you might not, but at the end of the day, no bank out there is going to have an exact credit score that they will either approve or deny. That's not how it works. Why? Because every credit profile's data is different, and the banks are looking for a strong credit profile based on data points. These are the data points that you need to have so that way you can look good on paper. Again, guys, we have to look good on paper. So we want to have 4 to 8 personal credit cards. Ideally, we want 4 to 5 of them to have at least a 24-month history. And that's why I tell people building credit is the most time-consuming thing, because it's a matter of getting those on-time payments reported to your credit report and showing that the last 24-month history has shown no risk, no late payments, no issues, no F-ups. We really have to make sure that we are paying everything that reports to our credit on time. Now, ideally, we would want all of these 4 to 8 credit cards issued by a bank with limits between 10 to 20K, okay? And I know that might seem like a lot, and if you don't quite have that, we just have to get a few more credit cards. Now, ideally, we want to have grade A banks from some of the top tier banks like Navy Federal, DCU. I'm going to give you a bunch of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, top rated banks. They can be any credit union or top tier bank, but we want to have those grade A Tradelines on our credit report, because banks are going to replicate what is on your data. Okay, whatever is on your report and other banks are doing, they're going to feel comfortable because they don't want to always be the first one to do it. But they might say, hey, well, Navy Fed gave him 25K, we'll give him 15. Or, hey, DCU gave him 15, we'll give him 20. So that's what banks look at. They want you to have some sort of comparable credit before they just go out and extend, a high limit to you. And that's why Navy Federal is so important to get into, because they can open up that door for you and they can raise the bar. So now when you have 2 $25,000 credit cards with Navy Federal, your next 2 credit cards might be 20, 25K. So that's a great way to start out. You also want to have 2 to 4 installment loans. These can be student loans, personal loans, auto loans, car note, any sort of installment loan where you pay the same amount of money every single month until that amount is paid in full. Again, everything needs to be on auto pay. We would like for our average history to be about 2 years. That's 24 months. Ideally, we want to have 5 years, but that's why I say if you are in your first 2 years of building, do not mess up with the credit card utilization or get a late payment. That is going to ruin everything. Of course, we can always correct high credit card utilization, but we cannot correct late payments all the time. So make sure that you are keeping that perfect payment history for at least 2 years. Preferably, we want to keep a perfect payment history for 5 years because we look even better on paper. Accounts are going to report on our credit report for 7 years. Now, you want to keep your inquiries low. You really don't want to have more than 3 or 6 inquiries in the last year. Inquiries will hold less value once they are older than 12 months, but they will remain on your credit report for up to 25 months. Another way to keep the inquiries low is to only apply for accounts once you have been pre-approved for them. You can go right to the website or to the app and see if you are pre-qualified for that card before you even apply, and then write that down so you know exactly what banks you're going to be applying with. I like to apply at night so that way I'm dealing with a computer system. But you do not want to have any fraud alerts on your credit report. So if you have some sort of consumer statement, or if you've recently gotten credit repair in the past, you want to make sure that you do not have any sort of security alert, freeze, fraud alert. Any sort of consumer statement needs to be lifted and removed from your credit profile before you apply for credit cards, or that could lead to a denial, especially if the consumer statement says that you've been a victim of fraud and that they must call you and verify your identity before they extend credit to you. You can simply call the credit bureaus and have that removed, or you can write them a letter and ask them to remove any consumer statement that is listed on your credit profile. You'll need to send in your social security card, identification, and proof of address. We'll get into more of that later on in the video, but that's just a tidbit how to get that fraud alert removed or the consumer statement removed. Again, we want to have 3 or less inquiries in the last 6 months. So when we are taking that break, we're allowing those inquiries to age. We want our utilization on our credit cards to be below 5% ultimately, especially within those first 2 years, because we don't want to abuse our credit cards. We want to keep our utilization under 5%. You do not need to use your credit card every single month. Even if you don't use your card and keep a 0 balance, you're still going to have an on-time payment reported because there wasn't a balance due. And if you look at your credit report, all that it says is okay, okay, okay in green. So if you don't owe anything, you're still going to get that okay mark. That's why people that do have secured credit cards, I don't even recommend that you use the card unless there is some sort of reward for it in the future, like it's going to graduate and you'll get your deposit back. If there is no future reward, if it's like a Sky, First Progress, Chime, or any of these other secured cards that have no future benefit, do not use it, okay? Do not close it because you already have it open and you're getting history from it, but you do not need to use it, okay? Put it away, take it out of your wallet, stop using it, pay it down to a 0 balance, and put it in the drawer, okay? Just let it marinate and help you get those on-time payments, because generally those cards are such a low limit. When you do use them, it really screws up your credit card utilization, which makes your credit score go down. Do not carry a balance with all cards at the same time. Rotate your usage, especially when you're applying for funding. You want to make sure all of your balances have been updated to reflect a 0, okay? Which is best, because again, you want to look good on paper. You don't want to look like you need money. Banks don't want to give people money who look like they need it, who look like a risk, okay? Even if you have a small balance on each of your cards, that is a no-no, okay? Get those zeroed up and then apply. You want to make sure you don't have any negatives, especially in the last 24 months. Again, late payments, collection accounts, charge-offs, anything like that. You want to be free of any sort of derogatories, especially for a 2-year period. Sometimes, you know, people still have old charge-offs and old things on their credit report from like 5 to 7 years. that they just don't plan on clearing up because they don't agree with it or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, it's so old that it's not really affecting your credit as much. The more positive accounts that you have will outweigh the old, negative stuff that was, in the past. So that's why it's so important for you to develop new positive accounts. So ultimately you'll have more positive than you do negative. These are some real deal credit repair gems, guys. Now there's a number of ways that you can repair credit, and we're going to get into some more do-it-yourself credit at the very end of this masterclass. But for now, I'm going to give you the starter points so that way at least you can get started on these little things and get yourself situated. Now, I do have an entire dispute letter library in the credit course that has a lot of letters. And even if we are giving you letters, I recommend you guys reword them and use some of the gems that we're about to go over. So you want to get a copy of your credit report. That's first and foremost, is getting a copy of your 3 bureau report, meaning you're getting TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian side by side so you can compare the data. My favorite 3B report out there, 3B meaning 3 bureau, is MyScore IQ because it is a Fico 8 score, and it's just like Identity IQ, but it is a Fico 8 score. So you can actually tell this is your real FICO score. A lot of times people are looking at credit reports that are used, calculated with a Vantage 3.0, like Credit Karma. I'm not knocking Credit Karma. I think Credit Karma is great for data, just like a lot of these other credit monitoring apps out there. But you just want to understand what type of data you're looking at. Now with MyScore IQ, this is actually going to be the FICO 8, which is what the banks are using. Now, not every bank is going to use a FICO 8. And again, I break down that in the credit course as well, what these banks are using, where they're pulling from, all that good stuff. So we want to get a copy of MyScore IQ, or you can use Smart Credit. I will leave the link below. Smart Credit is calculated with a Vantage 3.0, but a lot of people do like Smart Credit. I love Smart Credit. I just like MyScore IQ because it is a FICO. So if you are a little bit further along in your journey and you need to know what your actual FICOs are, get your MyScore IQ. We are affiliated with them, so we do get a small commission if you use our link. So that's why I asked that if you are going to get your credit reports, please support our channel at no additional cost to you and use our link to get your credit reports. Now, the first thing that you want to do first is to clean up your personal information. The fastest way to do this is to call each of the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Okay. I will leave their information in the link below on how to call them and to get your personal information corrected. They may request that you send them something in writing. If that is the case, you will need to just send them a letter. You can handwrite a letter out, make a copy for yourself, and send them a copy of your driver's license, your social security card, and proof of address. I like to use 2 forms of proof of address. Proof of address is simply a statement that is sent to you using your name and your current address. Your address on your driver's license may or may not be correct. Hopefully it is correct, but if it is not correct, you definitely want to use 2 forms of proof of address, okay? That needs to be, it could be a W-2 form, a pay stub, it can be a bank statement, an insurance card, any sort of formal statement, utility bill, okay? It needs to be 2 forms of proof of identification. So that way you can get the same name, the same address, and the same personal information. The goal is to have one name reported the same. So every time you apply on applications, you want to make sure you're using that same information, whether it's first name, middle initial, last name, and then address. You want to do it the same exact way on every single credit application that is completed, because every time you fill out a credit application, that's where they're getting this information from. So that way it will remain the same. It will match when they run your credit. So no hiccups will happen along the way. Getting your personal information cleared cleaned up and corrected is number one priority. Okay. Now you can also do this using the backdoor method with Experian. You can log in and you can clean up your personal info with Experian. I personally like to do it over the phone and then follow up with a letter. So that way I can say, look, I called you on this date and I'm following up and putting this in writing, supplying you with proof. Okay. Now, if you are looking to do this fairly quick, you can also upload documents on the portals. If you have Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, sometimes you can upload documents directly to them through the app. But honestly, the easiest way is just to do it old-fashioned and simply mail them a letter. If you are doing this for yourself, you can do it certified mail return receipt so you have the proof. It's not necessary, but I like to do that if you are doing it for yourself, so that way you have a record that they received it, so on and so forth. And you can also go a step further and get your letter to them notarized by a public notary. Oftentimes you can get items notarized for free with a bank that you have a relationship with. So if you have a credit union or any sort of bank, you can ask them if they have a public notary on duty that can notarize a document for free for you. And oftentimes the banks will notarize for free for you. So get it notarized. That way you can send it into the credit bureaus. That way they can't say, they can't verify who you are. So again, we want to clean up our names, addresses. You want to make sure everything is 100% accurate. There's no misspellings. There's no extra letters. There's no typos. There's no inaccuracies. You can also pull your credit report via annualcreditreport.com, but I'm not a huge fan of that report because it doesn't give you your scores. So I recommend MyScore IQ. You want to allow about 30 days for the bureaus to update everything. Make sure everything is updated. Now, during this 30-day period, you can also start disputing information on your credit profile, but at least get that personal info in the works immediately so that way they can start cleaning up your information so you only have one name, one address, one employer. And if none of the employers on your credit report are accurate, just don't have one listed. Next time you fill out a credit application, put the employer that you want on your application and it will report to your credit reports. If they pull from all three, it'll report to all three. If they only pull from Equifax or Experian, it will just go to the credit bureaus that they pull from, if that makes sense. But eventually you'll have it on all three bureaus if you apply for enough credit with that same exact information. And that's exactly how we apply, using that same name variation, exactly the same. If it's first name and then last name, just use that. If you're using first name, middle name, last name, use that. Use whatever you're going to use, but you use that same format every single time. You want to remove any fraud alerts that you have on your credit profile. A fraud alert is also known as a consumer statement. So that's why you want to get your credit report and look at the consumer statement and see if there is anything listed under your consumer statement. This is very popular if you have recently disputed something or got credit repair, whether you did it yourself or somebody else did it. If you have gotten credit repair, this happens. And it's not because we've requested it. The credit bureaus will automatically put this fraud alert on our credit report without our consent, without our request, and they'll put a phone number on there that sometimes is or is not accurate. So that's why it's so important for you to get the fraud alert removed. If you are concerned about fraud, just lock your reports until you're actually ready to apply for something, and then unlock them 3 to 5 business days before you're about to apply. But do not have that consumer statement on there because it doesn't do you any good. It just makes it harder for you to open up accounts when you're trying to build credit. And oftentimes we don't even know that the fraud alert exists. So make sure you understand how to find it. If you need help, book a call. We can go over your credit reports and I can tell you if there's something on there and what you would need to do to get prepared so that way you can start building credit and applying for funding. You want to clear up any negative data that is on your credit report. So if you have old collections, charge-offs, you need to dispute that information And later on in this video, we're going to go over the exact timeline of what everything looks like and how to dispute things. But in this part, I'm just kind of giving it to you guys, just the basics, so that way at least you can get started. And you can use AI to generate your dispute letters. Again, we also have a dispute cheat sheet. We have everything that you need inside of the course, so you can use little parts of the law. We also have our Learning the Law FCRA guide that has a lot of the key points that are in the FCRA and the law that helps protect consumers from this type of information that's listed on our credit report. So you can actually generate the letters inside of ChatGPT by putting a small portion of the law and saying, hey, ChatGPT, write me a dispute letter to Experian Credit Bureau to challenge this account based on, this law, and ask them to delete this inaccurate and fraudulent information from my credit report immediately before I pursue litigation. And you can tell ChatGPT, hey, also write this letter as if it's from an angry consumer, or write this letter as if it's from a consumer that needs their help really terribly bad, because every time they've called, no one has helped them over the phone. And at this point, they have already spent several hours and time trying to get this corrected. And it is the law of the consumer to have any inaccurate or fraudulent information deleted from their credit report within 3 days. You can just say that. It is if you've had fraud, but a lot of times the credit bureaus just don't want to do anything until you threaten them. So you can ask ChatGPT, make it sound like it's coming from someone angry. Make it sound like someone coming who's, tired and sick of this crap. Make it sound like someone who's happy, or make it sound like it's from a real person who is extremely concerned about their credit. So that's a great thing about ChatGPT. You can tell it prompts on how to write your letter, and then you can just copy and paste it into a Google Doc or Microsoft Word. Just keep a copy for yourself. Make sure you're organized. Whatever you send off to the credit bureaus, make a copy for your records and stay organized. Okay. So this is ChatGPT. It is amazing. You can go to the link here, sign up. There is a free account. If you get the paid version, it's $20 a month. But honestly, the free version is all that you need at this point, because it's going to get you everything that you need to write these dispute letters. And you can literally copy little pieces from our dispute letters, from our cheat sheets, from our Learning the Law, and put in like the different reasons and help ChatGPT with some of the law verbiage that you want it to use. And it'll write you a whole dispute letter based on a few prompts that you get it. That's why our course is so great, because you can give them the prompts based on the Learning the Law. You can give it on the cheat sheet that we have. It's amazing. So again, if you need coaching, sign up for coaching. I'm here. A copy to the credit bureaus. Keep the original for yourself. So if you are sending any sort of proof, you need to keep a copy for yourself, but keep the originals and send a copy to the credit bureaus or the creditor if you are sending some sort of proof of documentation, because sometimes things get lost in the mail and you never want to send the original. You always want to keep the original, send a copy, and then also make sure that you have a copy on file. Handwrite letters. Okay, you can have AI generate the verbiage, but you can still handwrite your letters. What I do is I let ChatGPT do the hard work, and then I'll handwrite notes onto the letters like, hey, please pay attention. Please help me. This is serious. I am very concerned. Just write a small handwritten note that can't necessarily be helped with a computer system, because what we're trying to do is avoid their eOscar system from helping us by getting over to a real human that can actually delete the account and help us. So handwrite your letters, handwrite notes on your letters, handwrite notes on your proof or supporting documents. Again, when you are sending in dispute letters, you want to make sure you're sending a copy of your photo ID that is current, not expired, copy of your social security card, and 2 forms of proof of address. Okay. If you're driver's license and your proof of address match, those are two. But if your driver's license does not match, then you need to have two forms: pay stub, tax returns, utility bill, insurance card. Get one of those things, just make a copy and send it on with your letters. These only need to go to the credit bureaus. Supporting documentations to prove your identity only need to go to the credit bureaus. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but you don't need to send that to the creditors until they have requested it and you feel comfortable sending it to them. Make it look like it's coming from a real person, not a credit repair software, not a credit repair company, but it's really coming from a real person who is concerned. Now, again, you need to include these items with your letters to the CRAs, credit reporting agencies: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Photo ID, social security card, proof of address. We just went over this, but just so you guys have it there. No need to send proof documents to the creditors. It's only as needed. And then again, if you want to send it certified mail return receipt, you're going to need to do so if you ever plan to sue the credit bureau. So that way you do have proof. But if you don't want to send it, you can just use a regular old stamped envelope from the U.S. Postal Service. Now, you can fit 8 pages in one envelope for one stamp. So you could pretty much fit everything that you need, all your supporting documentations and like a 2-page letter, in one envelope with one stamp. So it's only 60, 70 cents. I think it's like 70 cents like now to buy one stamp. I buy the big rolls, so I don't know. But it's very inexpensive to use a stamp, and you can send everything that you need to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. And again, if you ever plan to sue them or take them to court or proceed with any sort of litigation with Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, you would want to send your letter certified mail return receipt. So that way you have proof that you sent it, and then you have proof that they received it. Be organized. Get you a binder. If you're a person that keeps hard copies and you're not much of a computer person, keep a binder, keep a folder, keep everything that the credit bureaus sent, everything that you've sent the credit bureaus, keep it in a folder. If you're a person that does everything online, scan everything and upload everything to like a Google Docs folder, so that way you have everything that the credit bureaus have sent you, everything that you have sent the credit bureaus, you have a copy of it all in one place. So if for some reason you did need to proceed with any sort of litigation, you can, and you have all of the supporting documentation. You can also use software. The software that I recommend for people, again, is Credit Repair Cloud. There's a link below if you want to sign up for Credit Repair Cloud. They have a 30-day free trial. I love Credit Repair Cloud, and I have a ton of videos that do training and walkthroughs on Credit Repair Cloud. Second favorite is Dispute Fox. I am no longer going to be making any more Credit Repair Cloud training videos. Those are all done. Everything that, needed to be done is out there. But if you are needing help with Credit Repair Cloud, starting your credit repair business, helping with your journey, reach out, get a coaching package. Let's work together, because believe me, I've been there. I've done that. I've started a business and it has been a great success. So I highly recommend it. It's a great source of additional income. A lot of people that I have coached with also use it as their primary income. So, whatever, works best for you, but there's so many different ways that you can make $1 million. You just have to have multiple streams of income. So those are the software companies that I recommend. I'm a huge fan of all of those. There is a ton of training inside of the credit course. So if you haven't purchased the credit course, the link is in the description. Make sure to purchase the credit course, guys, because that helps support the channel. And right now the credit course is on sale for a little bit of nothing, but that helps with, editing the videos and just to support the channel, guys. It's not much. I just ask you, get that course because it does help support our channel. Thank you so much. And also inside of the Credit repair course is the letter library, the dispute cheat sheet, the FCRA laws that are going to be most commonly used in any sort of dispute letter to the credit bureaus or to creditors or to collection companies. So in the letter library, we have over 200 dispute letters. You can literally just grab a little verbiage, throw it into ChatGPT to regenerate a letter, add some consumer law to that thing, and voila, you're an expert. It's that easy these days, okay? I just gave you the game. You could literally start a business using that. Don't take any losses, guys. Don't take no L's. It's too expensive in this day and age to take any L's. Learn before you earn, okay? Don't just hop into some of these high ticket 10,000, 15,000 mentorship programs before you know anything about these people, because a lot of people will get you. You see that nice shiny, coin, gold and flashy things over there. Everything looks nice and glittery and gold. And oh my God, they got all the answers. Let me tell you something. If it was that easy, everyone would have it. Okay. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm not one that gives you the information you need to know, not what you want to hear. If it was that simple, like I said, everyone would have great credit. And if it was that easy, why isn't there more success stories? So you just have to be mindful. Everyone out there is really great at marketing, but you don't need that. Okay, you don't need that. What you need to do first is get your credit together, learn, earn, and then take action. And you can bounce 10x back because you can use your credit to invest in multiple streams of income to help you elevate yourself. That's how you're going to get to the next level. Getting your credit together, taking your time, going slow, working with a coach one-on-one. Group mentorships are great, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times you're just not going to get that same result as you would if you're working with someone one-on-one. Now, I am starting a mentorship, so if you are interested in joining, hit that link below, schedule a quick 15-minute call, or you can just purchase the coaching plan, and that will include the mentorship that starts in 2024. So don't take any more L's, guys. Stop spending $5,000 on these mentorship programs. Learn as you go. I've got a ton of information inside of my courses, and we're going to be learning all about business credit, personal credit, credit repair, Turo, ways to leverage credit, all those good things inside of the mentorship, guys. So again, take some time to learn. That's the great thing about these videos, because you can replay them, you can stop them, but learn before you earn, because I'm telling you guys, if you knew better, you can do better. This is not information that was taught to us. Don't feel bad that you did not learn it until now. Be blessed that you came across this video, because guess what? I'm giving you all of the information that people would charge you thousands of dollars for. This is the real deal information, okay? And this is what a lot of people don't want you to know, because a lot of people make money off of us just being uneducated. And when it comes down to being educated about credit, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I joined all of these different mentorships, and mind you, I learned something great from all of them, but you have to really diversify your education when you are serious about credit, especially if you are an entrepreneur and you are looking to leverage credit to build wealth, start businesses, grow businesses, and get business credit, because it all starts with your personal credit. I don't care what you've heard out there. Your personal credit is your foundation. Okay. So we're going to be talking about how you can repair credit, how you can build credit, because that's a really important thing that only you can do. Okay. We're going to be talking about how to get a 720 plus credit score and maintain that credit score, because it doesn't do you any good to get there if you're not going to be able to maintain it on your own and know the data points that you need to be keeping with your credit profile. I'm going to be teaching you how to build a strong credit profile using banks' primary trade lines to add to your credit profile so you can get grade A trade lines. I did another video on grade A trade lines and how to leverage those and what banks to go to and all of that good stuff. And if you haven't by now, make sure sure that you have purchased the credit course. The credit course is in the description below, and it has all of these videos, all of the slides, everything that you need is inside of the course, plus so much more. I just keep on adding more and more information to the course. As I develop things, there's not additions to the course. It's the same course, just more and more information gets added over time. And guess what? You get lifetime access. So it's just a one-time low fee right now. Link is in the description. It is on sale right now. So make sure that you get the course before the sale ends. And then if you need additional coaching outside of the course, you can always book a coaching call or purchase one of my coaching session packages, which will be good for a year. So that link is in the description below if you're ready to sign up for credit coaching and get one-on-one coaching with myself. And again, I help you over the span of a year because it's going to take you that long to get it together. It might take you longer, but let's just be honest. It is, this is why I wear this shirt. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this shirt, but it says right here, move at your own pace. Okay. I couldn't agree more with that saying, move at your own pace, because if you try to go too fast, you're going to crash and burn. Okay. Go slow. Take it slow. If you go too fast, red flags can be thrown. You don't want red flags to be thrown at your credit, in check systems, or anything else, because when you get too much new credit too quickly, that can also affect you in a negative manner. We don't want that. So we're going to go slow. I'm going to teach you the method that you need to apply when it comes to building credit. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But I'm telling you guys, make sure to watch all of the videos when it comes to this credit masterclass, because I spent a long time putting together all of this information because I wanted to make sure that I included everything. So this slideshow is over 200 pages long. And again, it's inside of the course. Link is in the description. And there's just so much that you're going to learn in this training. Like, I should literally be charging people over $1,000 for just doing this training. But I want to educate you guys. I want you guys to share this with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues, because this information is a game changer. Okay, this information is life changing. When I started learning about credit, that's when my life started taking a turn for the better. Because if you knew better, you can do better. And there's so many things that you can do with credit that are going to help you not only grow your business, but be able to invest in things that you can't normally purchase, like property. Okay. Everyone in this whole entire world, generally, their goal is to purchase property and leave behind some sort of, homestead for their family. So that way you're building generational wealth. Generally, back in the day when our grandparents were, working and buying properties and stuff, they were a lot cheaper. So obviously these days it's a lot more challenging to purchase property. But if you have your credit profile set up right, if you know what you're doing, it can be very easy, and you can purchase multiple properties leveraging credit. Okay. So I'm going to be teaching you guys all about that. Avoid applying for things or doing things until you've watched this entire masterclass, because it might sound good, but you want to make sure that you get all of the facts before you pull the trigger. Okay. If you are unsure, book a coaching call. Please, please, please book a coaching call. I left the link below in case you need to book a mini 15-minute call. They're very inexpensive, so we can just chat about whether or not it might be a good time for you to either add authorized user Tradelines, apply for certain credit cards, which credit cards you should apply for, so on and so forth. But in this masterclass, I am going to be giving you some great starter cards, some great secured cards, some great banks to start building credit with. So we're going to be going over all of that as well. I want you to go ahead and get a pen, get a paper, and start writing down your goals and action items as you are watching this video, because there's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to be dropping on you. And sometimes we have to come back and rewatch this information, but get that pen ready, get that paper ready. You can even listen to this information while you're multitasking, while you are driving. If you are a driver by trade, you can multitask, okay? If you listen to podcasts or music, listen to this information while you are driving so you can educate yourself, especially if you are some sort of logistics person. You're driving cross country. You're a professional driver. I work with so many different truck drivers who simply are not educated about credit. And you guys have so much time on your hands when you're driving to be able to just listen to information versus music. Leverage that time and learn before you can earn more money. Okay. That's what I always tell people. You got to learn before you earn. Okay. I spent a year learning before I actually started earning. And that's what this credit thing does. It takes time, but that's what you need to invest. You have to invest something when it comes to credit. Okay. You're going to either need to invest time, or you're going to need to have a lot of money to invest for people to fast track it for you. Okay. One of those two things. And you could do a little bit of both. Don't get me wrong. But there are certain things that you need to be educated on so you can make your next move your best move. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to book a call. Again, the link is in the description, because I would hate for you guys to pull the trigger on something and then say, oh, well, Credit Coach Nicole Scott said this or said that. Well, I also never have seen your credit profile unless we book a call, and every credit profile out there is different. Just because I have a 750 credit score and you have a 750 credit score doesn't mean that we would get approved for the same things. It's not about a credit score. It's about the data points. Okay. Many people don't understand that. They just look at that number. Although the number is important, what banks truly look at are the data points and the data that is on your credit report. That's why you might see someone that will get approved at a 680 because they have a really strong credit profile, but maybe they're just, a little maxed out on some credit cards, which made their credit score drop. Or you might see someone at a 750 get denied because they don't have a strong enough credit profile. Their credit profile is just made up of little rinky-dink credit builders and authorized user accounts. Again, nothing wrong with that, but you have to know there's a time and a place where you need to elevate and start building your primary trade lines. Primary trade lines are next to impossible to purchase these days. And if you do purchase them, they're not going to be from a grade A bank. Please, please, please do not purchase any primary trade lines. They are a waste of money. You need to invest that money that you would have spent on a primary trade line into secured loans or secured credit cards, because those are primary trade lines. No, they don't have history on them. However, it takes time to build up that history. Primary trade lines are generally with no-name banks, which mean nothing to real financial institutions, because they can tell if that is really a solid financial institution or not. And let me just give you guys a quick, just experience story here. So I had a client, I was working with them, and they had a decent credit profile, but they wanted to get a auto loan that was very expensive. And they did not have any comparable credit on their credit profile. The highest auto loan that they have ever had was like $25,000. So it wasn't much. And the auto that they wanted was about $150,000. So, no dealer in their right mind is just going to give you a $150,000 auto without a large down payment unless you have, comparable credit. So they purchased an auto trade line from somebody. But guess what? They went back to the dealership, they ran their credit, and they said, I'm sorry, we cannot even count this, trade line or this loan that you've had because we can't verify it and it looks like fraud. They straight up told them that. So a lot of these car dealers and banks and financial institutions, they know what financial institutions are out there, which ones are real and which ones are just like some BS, because no bank in their right mind is just going to give someone a $100,000 auto loan if they haven't even had a $50,000 auto loan. Okay. So you have to have comparable credit. And I'm going to be showing you guys how you can add comparable credit to your credit profile using some of these primary grade A trade lines. Okay. Let's talk about the method build, break, build. So build, break, build is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to spend a little bit of time building, okay, with about 3 banks. We're going to take a break anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And in that break, we're not going to apply for anything unless your credit profile is already established and you're going for a funding sequence. Build, break, build is really meant for those that are building credit, reestablishing credit, or, still in that 5-year phase of reestablishing their credit profile to make some adjustments and make their credit profile a lot stronger. And some people out there, they're already ready to go for a funding sequence, but build, break, build is exactly what it seems like. After you have built credit, you've applied for credit, maybe you've done a funding sequence, maybe you've just applied for a few cards to build credit. That's fine. You want to take a break after for at least 6 to 12 months and just make those on-time payments and manage those cards properly. Do not allow more than a 15% credit utilization to report to the credit bureaus. And if you do, don't allow that to report on more than no more than 2 cards, okay? It's really important for you to understand to cycle through your credit cards and not use the same credit card and abuse the same credit card, or use all of your credit cards at the same time, use them and abuse them. No, you want to use one card, use, pay. And then maybe the next month, use another card, use it, pay it, use it, pay it. Next month, use it, pay it. We're just building credit. We don't want to abuse anything. We don't want to set off any triggers. We don't want to have any red flags thrown saying, oh, whoa, you just got this card and now you're abusing it. Like red flags, red flags. No, gradually spend, gradually go up. That's how you raise your credit limits. But it's a process. 1 month, spend 500. Next month, spend 1,000. Next month, you could turn it up more because you've put in some, payments, you've put in some spend, and, maybe you've got a bonus to reach because they had a sign-on bonus, whatever the case may be. Of course, for the personal credit. So this is the credit report blueprint. We want to have, when we're building, we want to have 2 to 4 pledge loans. Okay. You can do pledge loans with Navy Federal. I did a whole entire video on pledge loans, so you can watch that video. But we want to have 2 to 4 pledge loans with different credit unions or financial institutions if they're not a credit union. Most credit unions will do a pledge loan, which is a secured loan, okay? Just like you guys have probably heard of the Navy Federal pledge loan hack. Same thing, same concept, just a different bank. Okay, Navy Federal is not the only bank out there. That is amazing. There are other banks out there. Navy Federal is just the #1 credit union because they've grown so much over the years. They're very popular. They give high limits. No doubt they're a great bank. But they also are great in regards to these pledge loans because there's no credit check, which is amazing. So you can get a primary trade line with no credit check. And it is a bank trade line. So it's going to be a grade A trade line from a well-known financial institution like a credit union. And they don't affect the 524 rule or 624 rule. Now, Chase, as you know, they have that 524 rule. If you open up 5 new accounts in the last 24 months, you really don't want to open up more than 6 accounts in the last 24 months because you could be seen as a risk to a lot of financial institutions out there fishing for credit. So that's why I tell you guys, you really want to take your time and, go slow. If you do get 6 cards at one time in a funding sequence, let that roll for about a year. Okay. Let that go for about a year because you're probably not going to get much more than that. And you probably don't want to because it's really going to affect your age. You want to be able to get 2 to 4 credit cards. Those are revolving lines of credit, and the pledge loans are considered installment loans so that we're diversifying our credit profile with both installment loans and revolving lines of credit, which are credit cards or lines of credit. In this case, it's a lot easier to get credit cards because some people might need to start off with a secured credit card that would graduate. And we're going to go over some great banks to do that with. A lot of credit unions also offer a secured credit card, but I would rather you get a secured loan because the funds are still going to be accessible to you versus a credit card. You're not going to be able to use those funds. So we're going to be breaking down all of that too. You want to date your checking account. Okay. This is building the relationship. You're dating your checking account. You're making sure that you have direct deposit set up on your checking account and a little direct deposit set up on your savings account. Mind you, you can have a certain percentage go in as a direct deposit. It doesn't need to be 100%. So say you're dating 3 banks at the same time. Spread the love, okay? Have, 10%, 15%, 25%, break the percentages up between those 3 banks. So you're getting direct deposit into checkings and savings, even if it's just a 5% amount, okay? That shows consistency with deposits, and it is a direct deposit, which helps build your relationship with any bank out there, especially credit unions that have an internal scoring model. This is something that they really like because they like to see consistency. They like to see people that have a steady income from a payroll company, from an actual W-2 job. And if you are an independent contractor, I highly recommend you sign up for ADP payroll. Put yourself on payroll so you can have verifiable income, qualify to get loans and lines of credit, and even purchase a home, because 1099 is really hard when you don't have that W-2 income. So if you are a business owner out there and you pay yourself, put yourself on payroll so you can have verifiable income. When I say date your bank, it means exactly that. Take it slow. You want to date them. You want to allow enough time to pass before opening the account and actually asking them for a credit product. I recommend waiting at least 90 days with any credit union out there, if not more. So you want to warm up your relationship, get that direct deposit going, get that, those CDs, secured loans, anything else that you can get that's not a credit product, get that in the first 90 days. You can apply for a pledge loan or secured loan with most banks and credit unions after a 30-day period. The build phase can also include adding authorized user trade lines. So if you have friends or family members that have credit cards that have below a 15% credit card usage and have 100% on-time payment history, they can add you as an authorized user. Or you can purchase authorized user accounts, which will help increase your overall credit history, add higher limits to your credit profile, and just overall help boost your credit score. And that's really where people get high credit score and don't get approved because they don't have enough primary trade lines. And a primary trade line is simply a credit account that it is in your name. So if it was your credit card and you added someone as an authorized user, that would be your primary trade line. And then whoever you added as an authorized user would inherit your account information, but ultimately you are the primary account holder and responsible for all of the payments. Unfortunately, if the primary account holder does miss some payments, it also reports to the authorized user account. So you really want to be careful on who you have add you. Now, I have a list of over 100 authorized user accounts that we offer, all guaranteed to report, all guaranteed to have less than a 15% credit usage, all guaranteed to have 100% on-time payment history. And we've got some pretty aged trade lines that have a really nice limit. I just did a trade line order today for somebody. We added over 10 years of history and over $50,000 of credit to his credit profile before he goes and applies for his next funding round, which is just going to help add higher limits to his approvals, because if the highest credit account that you have on your credit profile is only $1,000, banks generally want to mirror that amount. But if you have some higher accounts added, like higher credit limits, now you're adding comparable credit to your credit profile. So you've just raised the bar, especially when it comes to getting approved with a lot of these computer systems. They see that amount and they might go somewhere in the middle. Who knows? They might even go towards that higher limit amount, especially when it comes to like Navy Federal and a lot of these other banks, DCU, that are known for giving high limit accounts. So after you went through that build phase. And again, the build phase can take a couple months. Go at your own pace, okay? If you can build pretty quickly, do it pretty quickly so that way you can take a break, okay? During our break, again, we're going to take a break. We're not going to apply for anything. We're going to try to get those inquiries that we got from building credit. Again, the secured loans, the pledge loans do not cost you a hard inquiry, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you get a secured credit card, that will cost you a hard inquiry. Many of these banks, you can actually apply right on their website, and they have a pre-qualification tool that can let you know before a hard inquiry is placed. They'll do a soft poll and just give you an idea if you would be a qualified candidate for their credit product. Oftentimes, they will say yes or no within a matter of seconds. If for some reason it doesn't work for you, you can always call in or apply at a branch if a branch is close to you. But going online is obviously the easiest and the fastest way. And if you watched my credit card stacking video, that'll give you an idea on how to apply for multiple credit cards at the same time, just opening up those browser windows, filling out the app, and pressing submit at the same time. You can usually do about 3 at a time before it times you out. But that way, banks can't tell if you're applying for multiple products at the same time because that inquiry is going to hit at the same time. You want to try to get inquiries removed from your credit profile right after applying for something, whether you're approved or denied, because if the account hasn't reported yet, you still have the opportunity to call the credit bureau and try to get it deleted from your credit profile. Now, again, while you're taking this break phase should be anywhere from 6 to 12 months where we are not applying for anything. We are not even touching our credit. All that we are doing is nourishing our credit, paying our bills on time, make sure that auto pay is set up, make sure you are not abusing your credit cards, use them as a debit card. And I talk about that a lot in my videos. Use your credit card as a debit card. Don't get red flagged right away. Build that relationship. Pay, spend. You can always pay additional amounts inside of your app other than your auto pay. You never just want to pay the minimum amount. The auto pay for minimum amount is just so you have that, saving grace, if you will. Okay. Because the worst thing that you could possibly do is get a late payment, is fuck around and get a late payment. Okay. And I didn't say that. I didn't say a bad word because YouTube doesn't like it when I curse. And I'm trying not to curse as much. But if you guys know me or if you've had a call with me, you know I curse a lot. And I'm a huge fan of cursing, even though it's not maybe nice or ladylike. But hell, that's how I feel. So while we're taking our break, we're really just not doing anything, just focusing on building those relationships, paying bills on time, direct deposit, grooming our relationships with the bank. So if you can do some sort of secure deposit, CD, savings account, certificate savings deposit, whatever your bank calls it, do some sort of CD, which is a certified deposit. Basically, it's money from like your savings account. They put it into a CD for anywhere from like 12 to 24 months. You do not have access to it, but it is accruing interest for you. It is very different than the pledge loan. The pledge loan is a secured loan that helps you build credit. The CD does not report to your credit bureaus. It is just at the bank. It's kind of like a savings account, a high interest savings account. So it helps build that relationship with the bank. Almost every credit union out there is going to have some sort of certificate deposit account, CD account, certified pledge, CD, savings, whatever they call it. There's so many different names, but all you have to know is CD, okay? That's it. Certificate deposit account. And that's going to help you build your relationship with the bank. That's exactly what I did with Navy Federal. I did $1,000 CD with them. And when I got it out, it made me a few bucks. But really, it was just to build that relationship up with them. So that way they'll give me more and better credit products in the future. Cannot stress enough to you guys how important it is to continue to make these on-time payments to anything that reports to your credit. You cannot afford to have a late payment. Late payments are the fastest way to drop your credit score up to 100 points. I don't know if I have told you this story before or if you've heard me say it in another video, but I have been working with this client for a long time, for at least a year or more. Okay. And I finally got his credit immaculate, over 700. He purchased a lot of things, and he got a late payment. And it dropped his credit score over 100 points. I wanted to cry for him. I really did. I wanted to cry for him because a late payment is the most damaging thing that you can do to your credit report. And they are the hardest thing to get corrected, especially when you don't have any sort of life event. There was nothing that took place that really caused this late payment other than you either not having the money, not being responsible with your money, so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, this is what banks do, is they report data. Now, late payments that were caused to maybe a medical or a life event or something like that are more likely to get forgiven if you give them a goodwill adjustment request. If you submit a goodwill adjustment request to the bank, they could forgive the late payment. But most banks in this day and age, it is 2024, they are not going to be providing a goodwill adjustment because it was just an F up on your end. You will have to submit some sort of documentation or proof that you were in the hospital, that you were sick, you had a baby, you got fired, you got laid off, your unemployment hadn't hit, whatever the case may be. Try to get that goodwill adjustment letter and proof submitted to the bank as soon as possible so they can work with you. You can also call the bank if you're going through a financial hardship and see if they are able to help you out by deferring the payment or, adjusting the payment date, doing something, because staying in communication with the bank during a financial hardship is essential to your relationship with them, because oftentimes there is something that they can do, especially when it comes to auto loans. Oftentimes, if you are going through a financial hardship and you have an auto loan, they are able to defer 1 to 2 payments of your auto loan to the end of your term. So that way you don't get affected in a negative way with your credit. It's basically like saying, hey, here's a pass. We know you're going through a financial hardship. So instead of paying this payment now, we're just going to put it to the end of your loan term and defer that payment for you. Okay. So some banks can do that. Again, it's all based on your relationship. If it's something that happens a lot, chances are it's probably not going to be available. But if this is just an isolated incident, definitely call your bank so you can communicate that with them. But if you are, doing things the way you should be in this day and age, you have more than one income, you have multiple streams of income, whether that's a job, side hustle, DoorDash, Uber, work from home, all these different things, you need to have at least 2 to 3 sources of income in this day and age in order to survive and not go through a financial hardship, because we can't just rely on one source of income these days. Unfortunately, it's just too risky and it's just not affordable. I mean, it's so expensive. Everything is so expensive. So we definitely want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves by generating multiple sources of income. Now, after we've taken a break, we want to start building again. Okay. So again, when we are initially building, you just want to take it slow, nothing crazy. And then take a break for 6 to 12 months, doing nothing but paying your bills on time and managing your credit cards properly. And we'll go into how you can manage them properly later on in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some samples and some gems on exactly what you guys need to know. Now we're going to build again. So we're going to be patient. We're going to use these soft credit checks with the websites of the banks that we're going to be applying with. And we're going to see what banks we're pre-qualified with first. These are going to be the banks that we've been building our relationship with. So these are going to be the credit unions. And by this time, we should have at least 3 to 6 credit unions that we've opened, because when you're initially starting, you want to open up 3, wait 3 to 6 months, open up another 3, because ultimately we want to have like at least 9 credit unions that we can go to and apply for credit with, because we've been building up and grooming that relationship. We've been dating them, right? Essentially, that's what we're doing, is dating the banks so we can, build a good credit product history with them, or future, I should say. We're building our relationships with the banks so that way we can guarantee that we'll have better credit products approved to us based on our relationship directly with that bank, no matter what it is that we want to purchase, whether it's an auto loan, home loan, credit card, line of credit, business, whatever the case may be. We have a good relationship with that bank. We've been building with them for a while. We've been with them for a while. We don't have any overdraft fees. You cannot get any overdraft fees either. That really affects your relationship in a negative manner. So make sure that you do not get any overdraft fees, for the love of God, please. Okay. But now we are on the second phase of building. We're going to apply for 1 to 3 primary credit cards. Okay. And we're going to go over all the data points of how many you should have and all that good stuff. But we're going to be applying for 3 to 6 primary credit cards. 1 to 3 applications that pull from each bureau is best. And this is kind of what I went over in my credit card stacking video, is we're going to apply for 1 to 3 cards that pull from the same bureau, maybe Equifax, or just pull from Experian, or just pull from TransUnion. And if you guys have purchased the credit course, I have the updated list of all of the credit unions, how to join, and where they pull credit from, so that way you guys can plan accordingly. Because sometimes all it is joining a membership or something, that you have to do to join some of these credit unions. But guess what? You've never heard of them before, because when you drive down the street, you don't see their building. They don't advertise because they simply just don't need to. Okay. They are built on assets, and these are the banks that have the top amount of assets. So of course they have the top amount of money to give out. That's how they make money, is to give money. But you just have to set yourself up so when you apply, you are approved, not denied. Okay. So again, after we have applied, we're going to go after we've, waited and we're building, we're going to be applying with the credit unions that we've been building our relationships with, hopefully, right? There are a few others that you can go with that don't require a bank account, but it's best to build up bank account relationships with credit unions and then apply for their credit products, because most credit unions, you cannot just go apply for their credit products not being a member. You have to become a member before you can actually get approved for their credit products, okay? Sometimes that just entails a savings account or something, but I recommend opening up a checking and a savings and getting direct deposit into both of those accounts, even if it's just a small percentage, because that shows consistency, okay? And it's from an actual payroll company. We want to go after credit unions, regional banks, local banks, current relationship banks that you have dated, and fintechs that pull from one credit bureau. So if your TransUnion is the best credit score, just apply for banks that pull from TransUnion. Put the other 2 on ice and let them age a little bit more, because the more time that passes, the more on-time payments you have, the better your credit score will be. Generally, we need to have a 24-month history that is free from F-ups, okay? No late payments, no derogatory accounts in the last 2 years, no signs of financial distress. Because when you have collections, late payments, derogatories, it looks risky to banks, and it looks like you're struggling and going through some sort of financial distress. But the more accounts that we have that are paid on time, paid as agreed, managed properly, our credit cards aren't maxed out, we don't have balances on a bunch of different credit cards, now we look good on paper. And that's what it's all about, looking good on paper. You have to look good on paper. They don't care about nothing else but the data. And once you understand the concept of all of that, all of this credit stuff becomes a lot easier. Speaking of the concept, I do have the Credit Concept podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure you tune in, because I talk a lot about personal credit and business credit on the Credit Concept podcast, because honestly, it's just a concept. You have to just understand the concept and apply it to fit your life the best fit, okay, the best way possible, because there's no one size fits all. Every credit report has these different DNA. Every credit report has different data. So really, you just need to take the information and apply what works best for you. Now, after that second round of funding, as we call it, we are going to take another break. So this break is going to be, again, for about 6 to 12 months. Every time you take a break, it needs to be for about 6 to 12 months. Now, I have had people break shorter periods of time, maybe like 3 months. But honestly, the more time that you can allow to pass, the better, because banks really want to see that you are managing your other credit accounts so they feel more comfortable lending to you, because they see your history, they see your patterns, and they don't see you as a risk. Okay. Again, looking good on paper. When we're taking our break, I cannot reiterate this enough to you guys. We don't want to apply for anything. Okay. We don't want to apply for anything. If you are going to be applying for a secured loan or a pledge loan, do that during your build phase. But while we're taking a break, we don't want to open up any new accounts on our credit profile. We just want to let everything sit, marinate, get on-time payments, pay everything on time, and just let it marinate. Now, during this break, you can also start opening up some business bank accounts so you can start building those relationships with the business bank accounts. Now, during this break, you can also start building business credit. If you are a business and you are looking to get business credit, this would be the time where you want to start applying for some non-PG business trade lines that you can start using just to establish yourself as a credible business. And again, all of these business trade lines that you would be getting, they cannot require a PG yet. You want to go ahead and get some business trade lines off of like tier 1, tier 2, you can get some gas cards, you get some store cards, anything that does not require a PG. And again, if you are interested in building business credit, I have my business credit course, and I will leave all of the links in the description below. The next phase, we're going to be building again. And during this time, we're going to build a solid funding sequence plan. We're going to apply for personal credit. You can also apply for business credit, because by now you should have already opened some business bank accounts if you are a small business, and just let those business bank accounts marinate. Same concept on the business side, especially if you're starting on the personal side. Once you've had a personal account with them for, say, 3 months, you can open up a business account, okay? And go ahead and start building that relationship on the business side, just like you did on the personal side. So now we can start applying for some business credit cards, because we don't want to have too many credit cards on our personal side. Eventually, we want to start putting our credit cards in our business name so they don't report to our personal credit, and we can actually use them and not have it affect us in a negative way. You see, when we're initially building, a lot of those credit cards are just used as decoration. They're just used as pawns to get to the next level, okay? They're just stepping stones. But if you mess up those stepping stones, or you mess up, we can't get to the next level. There is levels to this ish, okay? And you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to F it up over a $25K credit card, okay? Don't do it. It's not worth it. Okay, we can get millions in credit, like no BS. I've had millions in credit over my life, but no one's going to give you anything if you can't even manage a $25,000 credit card. So be smart, do the right thing, have discipline. You have to have a budget. You can't overspend. Use your credit cards like a debit card, especially when you're in your first 2 years of building credit, okay? Don't overextend yourself. Don't overshop. Don't go out because you've got a credit card. If you don't have the money in your bank account to pay your credit card, you cannot spend it, okay? That's just what it is. But eventually, we want to put these credit cards in our business name so they don't affect us when we're making, business transactions, buying supplies, or buying things for our business that's going to help us generate income. That's what credit is for, to buy money-making assets that can help generate additional streams of income, whether that's us paying for mentorships, coaching, supplies, marketing, whatever the case is, ads. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your business, because if you invest in yourself, you are unstoppable. Okay. You are unstoppable. You can start 10 different businesses out there because the money is out there. It just needs to be gotten, and no one's going to do it for you. It's not going to just fall in your lap. You have to put in the work, and you have to grind for some years. Okay. You need to put in at least 5 years before you start complaining. And yes, you're going to get burnt out. Yes, there are long days, but it is goddamn rewarding. Okay. And it is life-changing. Okay. So that's why I say take a break and then build again. Now, when you are applying for your funding sequences, you do not want to have balances on any credit cards. Wait until your credit cards are updated with all 3 credit bureaus to reflect a 0 balance. Even if you have a $2 balance, a $5 balance, okay? Do not apply for more credit cards when you have a balance on your credit cards, okay? One credit card having a small balance is okay. But a lot of these banks, when they see that you have a balance on every card, you are now more riskier. Again, red flags are being thrown. So you really want to make sure initially when you are applying, you are doing it very strategically, okay? You want to make sure that all of your credit cards, your current credit cards that you have, are at a 0 balance. If you can't zero them out, you don't need to get more credit cards at this time. You need to wait, pay those down, and then go for another round of funding, because obviously, you're already overspending. We don't want to add more credit that you're not able to manage at this time. Go at your own pace. Go at your own pace, okay? 6 to 12 months. If you need to go 18, go 18, okay? But don't overextend yourself, all right? It's very easy to do, especially when you're starting a business. There's a lot of expenses that come with it, ads, marketing, everything, just so much things, website, business phone, so there's a lot of expenses that we start putting on our credit cards, and the next thing, we're not producing any income. We're just, focused on all this other stuff. We need to be focused on income first and then building out more and more stuff. Honestly, you can get a Go High Level account for $99 a month, and that has everything that you're going to need for any sort of agency that you're going to be starting. It has website, landing pages, sales pages, you name it, it has it. Email marketing, it's everything in one platform for $99 a month. I highly recommend it. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to book a call. The link is in the description below. Now, let's talk about preparing our credit report so we can apply for better funding, more funding, higher limits. Now, over time, we can grow our current limits as well. So if you've had a credit card for 6 months, 12 months, you can request a credit line increase. I recommend asking for a credit line increase directly through your app, because generally it's going to be a soft pull. It could be a hard pull, so sometimes it varies based on the bank. But if you already have a hard pull on file, sometimes you can double dip and use the hard pull on file. But if it does result in a inquiry and you got approved, it's well worth it. But that's how you can grow your limits over time. Every 3 to 6 months, ask for a credit line increase with the bank. Again, credit unions. This does not necessarily work all the time with, say, Capital One, because Capital One is not my favorite bank. They're a great starter bank, but again, they pull from all 3 credit bureaus and they rarely give credit line increases. And when they do give credit line increases, Generally, they're not that much. They're also known not to give high limits. They generally give pretty low limits. They're a great starter bank, so I just leave it at that. But again, do not have balances on more than 2 credit cards. You really want to have a 0 balance. You want to make sure your credit card balances should be below 15% if possible. Do not overextend yourself. Do not allow a 50% utilization to report to the credit bureaus. And we're going to be breaking down how to understand all of that and the reporting and the cycles and all that in just a little bit later on in this masterclass. Wait until everything has updated to a 0 balance before you apply. Do not pull the trigger fast, okay? Wait. It takes a minute for everything to fully update, okay? Just because you paid it with the bank doesn't mean that it's updated on your credit report. And when you apply for credit, guess what? They're going to pull a report of what is currently, what the data is currently. And the banks have not updated with the credit bureaus. So it can take anywhere from 10 to 30 days for a balance to fully update with the credit bureaus. You want to make sure that when you pull a credit, everything has updated, because guess what? The data that you're pulling from, say, Identity IQ or MyScore IQ, Smart Credit, anywhere, Experian, anywhere you're pulling your credit, that's going to be the exact data that the bank is going to get as well. So if you pulled your credit as of today and the balance still reflects the balance from last month, it has not updated yet. So you need to wait until everything has updated fully. Stop spending on your credit card. Wait for everything to update to a 0 balance, and then apply for the new credit cards, okay? It's very important that you don't pull the trigger too quickly. Now, banks can absolutely deny you for credit products and credit cards if you have balances on too many credit cards. It doesn't matter if the balance is 1%, 2%, or 50%. If you have balances on every single credit card that you have, you look thirsty. You look risky. No bank wants to deal with someone who is risky in their eyes. If you are risky, believe me, you're going to pay accordingly. That's why a lot of these banks like Ally and, a lot of these high interest banks that specialize in high risk lending, they'll give you an auto loan, but guess what? You're going to pay 28% interest on that thing. So half of your money every month is going to straight interest versus the actual principal balance that you owe on the car. So you really have to understand the terms and how important it is for you to look good on paper. So that way you do not have to get qualified or get financing with some of these high risk lenders, because believe me, they're not doing you any favors. They are here for business. They are here to make money, and they are ripping people off. Okay. We do not want to be in that bracket because we're overpaying because we don't know how to look good on paper. We don't know how to structure our credit report because we weren't educated about this. And this is nothing to be embarrassed about, but really to embrace and listen and learn, because guess what? None of us were taught credit in school. It's not something that is taught to us, and it's not taught in college, okay? Because there's a lot of gray area with credit. So really it just takes a lot of experience. I have 10, 15 years experience in credit, in business. So this is not something I just picked up yesterday and figured I'm just going to start talking about credit on YouTube. No, it took me a long time to press that record button for you guys. But guess what? I know you guys appreciate the information. So again, if you haven't by now, make sure that you've subscribed, give me a huge thumbs up, and turn your bell notifications on. Share this information with a friend, because this is the information that can change your life, period. Credit can change your life. It can determine where you live, what kind of car you drive, what your car payment is, all of these different things. And if you knew better, you do better. So let's do it, okay? Again, banks can deny you if you have too much debt to income. So there's a difference between credit utilization and debt to income. Your credit utilization is calculated based on the revolving credit lines on your credit profile. Those are credit cards and lines of credit because they can change from month to month based on your spending habits. So they're revolving, right? And we need to have a few revolving accounts, like I would say no more than 20, okay? A nice number is between 10 and 20, between 8 and 20. So that way you can really diversify your credit profile. I would say 8 is a good number to start with. 8 is a solid amount of credit cards that you can have on your credit profile. And then after 8, go to the business side, okay? Because now you have enough. You really just need 6 to 8, and you need a solid history with those 6 to 8. If you have a 24-month history with like 6 credit cards, you're golden. Even 5, you're golden. You really don't need to add, anything more, maybe a few more, but then get on the business side. So that way you can just PG business credit cards that are not going to report to your personal credit report. And the debt to income is based on the amount of debt that you owe as a whole based on the amount of income that you bring in. So that's why on credit applications, they will ask you, what is your household income or what is your income? Sometimes it's household, which would make sense because a lot of times if you have a household with a spouse, your household income is a lot more. And obviously you're going to bring in a lot more money to the household. So that often helps get people approved for a larger credit limit because let's just be honest, no bank in their right mind is going to give a $25 or $30 or even $50,000 credit card to someone who only makes $100,000 a year. No, okay, they're not going to take that risk. But if a household brings in, say, $200,000 a year, they're going to be more open to giving you $25,000 because your household income is a lot more. Okay, let's just be honest. That's how a lot of these funding companies get so many people approved for higher limits because they fluff the income. But I don't recommend fluffing the income too much unless you can back it, because a lot of times if it just doesn't look right, if that's not what they have on record for you, I mean, again, these banks, they generally know this information before they ask it. They're just seeing if you're going to be honest or not because they have more data about you than you probably have about you. Okay, that's what these data companies do. They share data. And the banks, they're not excluded. They have a ton of data on us. Okay. And basically, you just want to make sure that you're not overextending yourself when it comes to credit. You have to be very smart about credit. You have to be very disciplined about credit. So you don't want to take out too many loans. You don't want to have too many personal loans. You don't want to have too many auto loans. You don't want to have too much debt on your personal credit. And there's the thing, good debt and bad debt. Student loans, those are often good debt because you went to college and you acquired a degree and things like that. A car, it's not good debt. It's not necessarily bad debt. It's necessary for you to get around and for you to have a vehicle. One personal loan is okay, but if you have several personal loans, it could be seen as a risk. So sometimes, you really want to just try to avoid getting too many personal loans at the same time. If you are going to get a personal loan, it should be for a higher dollar amount. And then when you initially get those funds, like a $30,000, $25,000 personal loan, do a pledge loan. Do 2 pledge loans. So that way you can get a couple higher limit trade lines, primary trade lines listed on your credit report. Okay. And you can use that same $25,000 and recycle it at different banks and do pledge loans with them. So that's a gem right there. Okay. So let's talk about too many new open accounts. This can be seen as a risk as well. As we all know, or may not know, Chase has the 524 rule. And I've mentioned this before. If you've opened up 5 new accounts in the last 24 months, chances are you're going to get denied because that's just their rule. They don't want to deal with people that have opened up too many accounts in the last 2 years. So if you are going to be applying for Chase, I recommend applying for them first. Okay. Now, if you don't have enough payment history, that's another reason why the banks can often deny you. So that, like I was saying, we really want to have a 24-month payment history on most of our accounts. If we don't have quite a 24-month payment history, it's just a matter of waiting it out a little bit longer, okay? Because this second build phase, it could be 24 months out. Just kind of depends on where you're at. If this is very new to you and you're just starting to build credit and you really didn't have any positive accounts before now, you really want to have that 24-month of solid payment history on most of your credit accounts before you go and, really get with the big boys, okay? And that's just me being honest with you guys so you guys don't get disappointed and get denied, because it is a process. It does take time. A lot of people say, oh, you can clean your credit, get a 700 credit score in 30, 90 days. It's possible. I've seen it happen. Is it likely? Probably not, because you still have to build credit and establish credit, and there's nothing that can speed that up. It simply takes time, because it takes those on-time payments to consistently report. Every 6 months, you're going to see your credit score going up from those on-time payments. And as long as you're keeping your credit utilization low. Now, your utilization, like I said before, it's not affected with your installment loans. Again, that goes towards your debt to income, but your revolving lines, that's your utilization. So that's really how your credit score is calculated. 30% of your credit score is made up from your credit card utilization. 30%. And then 35% is the on-time payment. So guess what? That's half the battle right there. That's 65% of your credit score right there. So if you can manage those two things, that is half of the battle. You just have to understand how to properly manage them. And I know, this information isn't always fun to learn about, and sometimes it can be boring, but you gotta force yourself to learn this information, because I'm telling you guys, it is worth the struggle. And I spent so much time and so much money learning all this stuff. But guess what? That's the great thing about getting a coach like myself. I can give you my real experience, and I can also share experience that I've seen with my other clients. So we're not just throwing stones in the dark and hoping that they land at the target. No, we want to make sure that we're strategically planning and executing so that way it is successful. There's no purpose of trying to just a blind apply for things, okay? We don't want to do that. Now, again, during this second funding, you're going to apply for anywhere between 1 to 3 banks that pull from each credit bureau: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And you want to have them planned out based on who you did pre-approvals for, to ensure, hey, I'm a qualified candidate based on the pre-approval. Get a spreadsheet, get organized, okay? Write everything down so that way okay, I was not pre-approved with this bank, so I'm not going to apply with them yet, but I was pre-approved with this bank, so I know they pull from Experian. I'm going to get 2 other banks that pull from Experian, and I'm going to find 3 banks that use Equifax. And that's why it's so important to date multiple banks that use different credit bureaus. So if you're going to be using this strategy, you need to open up 3 bank accounts that use TransUnion for credit pulls. You need to open up 3 bank accounts with banks that use Experian for credit pulls, and open up 3 bank accounts that use Equifax for credit pulls. So that way you are diversifying your opportunity to get approved, because you're using different credit bureaus. You don't want to use banks that are going to pull from all 3 credit bureaus like Capital One. Again, Capital One's a great starter card, but they are going to leave a hard inquiry on each credit bureau. You can also try fintech companies. They are pretty popular, and some fintech companies won't result in a hard pull. Some will, but they will require that they connect directly to your bank account using Plaid. That way they can verify that you have income, and they can give you a credit limit that would report to your credit. And we'll go over some good options in regards to fintech cards when we get into this video a little bit more. Now I need you guys to go ahead and give me a huge thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe, because if you knew better, you would do better. And that's exactly what I'm giving you. I give you the information that you need to know, not what you want to hear. Because if it was that easy, everyone would have good credit. Now back to the build, break, build phase of everything. I hope you guys took in what we were going over and you can apply it to your life. Now, when I talk about build, here are some of the phases that I'm talking about. Establish your banking relationship, especially for banks that you want to get credit with in the future. Again, credit unions, community credit unions. I go over so many banks in this video, and I also have over 100, I think there's like 112 banks and credit unions on this list. And I tell you how to join them, what fees are associated with joining them, and who they pull credit from. I put together an entire tracking log of all of these things. And again, that is included in the course. Everything is inside of the credit course. So if you are interested in purchasing the credit course, the link is in the description. So again, that build phase, we're just going to be establishing our banking relationships, especially for banks that you want to apply for credit with in the future. Think about anything that you can possibly finance directly with the credit union. Auto loan, mortgages, credit cards, business loans, pretty much anything out there credit-wise. Most of these credit unions will offer that credit product. During the build phase, you also want to be cleaning up your personal information on all of the credit reports, and we'll get into that shortly. You want to start building your base of credit accounts, even if this is via secured installment loans and possibly 1 to 2 specific credit cards that may be secured, because with credit unions, generally when you get a secured card, it will graduate to an unsecured card in a matter of time. That's also the same concept for the Discover It card, which is one of my favorite credit cards to start with as a secured card that pulls from Experian. Discover It will graduate in about 7 months as long as you make all of the payments on time and you properly manage it, meaning you're not overspending and you don't have over a 15% credit card utilization. Now, I say 15%. Obviously, when you look online, you're probably going to see 30%, but 30% is just way too much. You don't want to allow your credit utilization to go that high. In fact, I allowed my credit utilization to go to like 27% a few years ago, and it dropped my credit score so bad. I was like, oh my God. I was just ready to apply for something. I think we were trying to move, and I said, well, maybe we can get a nicer apartment. This was when we lived in the Bay Area, and thank God I didn't, because it all worked out. But right when I was going to apply, I realized that my credit score had went down into like the 600s because my utilization went up. And of course, the property management company was using a Vantage score, so it was the same that was on Credit Karma. So I was just so upset, and it literally dropped like 70 points because my credit utilization went up to 27%. And that's why I tell people, don't believe the hype. Don't believe all this information that they tell you online, because that's just not it. That's not it. Okay. Of course, the banks want to make money off you, so they're going to tell you 30%, but allow them to make a little money off you, but don't allow your credit utilization to go over 15%. Okay. You really want to keep it under 10%. And that's why I say treat your credit cards like a debit card. Spend, pay, spend, pay. Even if you're paying weekly or bi-weekly, when you get paid, you want to make sure that you are paying frequently in addition to your auto pay that is set up for the minimum amount due on a monthly basis. Now, during the break phase, we want to use the credit products that we've applied for properly, and you could take turns using the credit cards. I always say take turns because a lot of people, they just get overwhelmed when they're using too many credit cards at the same time. So that's why I tell people, just focus on one card at a time, unless they have some sort of welcome bonus that you have to spend a certain amount of money in like the first 3 months. to get a reward. But if they do not have a welcome bonus and you're just using the card, you don't necessarily have to use it. So you can always put it on the back burner for right now if it doesn't have a welcome offer, and just focus on the cards that do have a welcome offer, and just allow it to properly benefit you in the best way possible. If the card is giving more points for grocery or more points for gas, make sure that you're using your cards for what they are meant for. So that way you can get the most amount of rewards in exchange. You also want to understand what the cards are best for. So if a credit card is a good travel card, then you want to use that for travel purposes. Gas is generally included, or any sort of flight or things of that nature. If you have a card that offers a really good cashback rewards for groceries or for shipping or for any sort of particular category, you want to understand what the cards are best used for, so that way you can maximize your benefits and rewards for each particular credit card. You're also going to get 4 to 6 months of age on your primary trade line when you take this break. Now, I recommend taking a longer break, somewhere around 6 to 12 months, because I don't want to rush the process. I want you guys to really take your time, learn, and then earn. Okay, don't rush it. And that's why I say when we are breaking, 6 to 12 months. If you're in a rush, you can do 4 to 6 months, but I would recommend 6 to 12 months because, again, you don't want to go too fast and you don't want to overextend yourself. You want to make sure that you are gradually growing over time and you're not taking on more than you can manage. If you are, get yourself a tracking log, write everything down. You're going to need a tracking log anyways when you get your credit cards, because you want to know, all the different dates. And I do have a credit card tracking log inside of the credit course as well that I talk about. So you definitely want to be tracking all of the information for each card, including, if you've added any authorized users, because on your credit cards, most of the time you're going to be able to add an authorized user that can benefit from your card. So you're setting your children up so that way you can add them as an authorized user and help them to get a 700 credit score by the time they turn 18. It's a win-win for everyone. During your break, you can also ask for credit line increases more towards the end of your break. And again, credit line increases are going to be the same rule that applies as if you were applying for funding. When you are asking for a credit line increase, you should not have balances on any of your credit cards, especially the card that you are asking for a credit line increase. You can have a small balance, but I would prefer it to be a very low balance, if not zero, when you ask them for a credit line increase. You can literally pay it off, wait 5 to 7 days, and then ask for a credit line increase. And you can be asking for credit line increases every 3 to 6 months. And then during the next cycle of build, we are going to be structuring our credit profile. We're going to be testing the waters with pre-qualifications, and we're going to be executing our first funding sequence of 3 from each credit bureau, I should say, because each bank will pull from a certain credit bureau. So that way we can plan out our funding sequence and who we're going to be applying with and start grooming those relationships so we can get credit. Now, I am starting a mentorship, so if you are interested in joining, hit that link below. Schedule a quick 15-minute call, or you can just purchase the coaching plan, and that will include the mentorship that starts in 2024. So don't take any more L's, guys. Stop spending $5,000 on these mentorship programs. Learn as you go. I've got a ton of information inside of my courses, and we're going to be learning all about business credit, personal credit, credit repair, Turo, ways to leverage credit, all those good things inside of the mentorship, guys. So again, take some time to learn. That's the great thing about these videos, because you can replay them, you can stop them, but learn before you earn, because I'm telling you guys, if you knew better, you can do better. This is not information that was taught to us. Don't feel bad that you did not learn it until now. Be blessed that you came across this video, because guess what? I'm giving you all of the information that people would charge you thousands of dollars for. And I know there's going to be a lot of people mad, but that's why I say you got to watch the entire video so you can pick up all this game, because it is a game changer, guys. I'm telling you. So before we get into part 2, we're going to end part 1 of the Credit Masterclass. I thank you guys so much for tuning in today, but I'm telling you, part 2, part 3, and part 4 are going to be mind-blowing. We've got over 200 slides, and this is only slide number 29. There's so much information that we still need to go over, so make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. Turn those bell notifications on. Leave me a comment below, because your engagement with the video helps me reach a wider audience, and I greatly appreciate it, guys. Share it with a friend, share it on social media, and make sure to watch all of the videos in the credit training playlist coming up next. Let's go.